On today's episode, we'll talk about the importance of confidence, balancing family life and set life, Scream Queens, BMF, and of course, that classic of classics, Mega Piranha. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out the breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, the musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the blocking, the answers, the images, and so much more. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides, and coming to you over the internet today with a friend in Atlanta. I'm not in Atlanta at the moment, so thus the internet. Spencer Hutchins, who we've known each other for quite some time. He's a really fantastic operator and cinematographer as well. He shot a bunch of stuff. Some of his credits, but not all by any means: BMF, She-Hulk, 911, Die Hard, Scream Queens. And I have to ask him about this Titanic 2, because apparently there was more, and Mega Piranha, which just sounds so much better than Piranha. 2016 winner of the Emerging Cinematographers Award, and I will post a link to this on the podcast page. He had for a couple of years, actually, a podcast called Protecting the Frame that I had forgotten I was on, actually, when I was looking at it, about 40 episodes, and really, in many ways, probably on some mental level, a precursor to what I'm doing here. So without further ado, Spencer, thanks for jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I should say Spencer and I met on Scream Queens because I came back to LA and you were on A camera and I was on B camera and we had a blast.
That was and for me as a younger operator and having nothing close to the experience that you had, that was kind of a fun dynamic.
We had a great time. It was, and actually, it was one of those things where, because Andrew Mitchell was on it and he stepped off and I took over for him. It was one of those things where I was like, I hope he's okay with it, because I don't have any problem with, like, with you being younger than I am. And yeah, we had a good time.
It's a revolving door of amazing B camera operators on my second show. Exactly.
So tell me, how'd you get into the business? What's your story?
Yeah. So from early on, my dad did a lot of videos for our church growing up. And so kind of got the bite from that point of becoming fascinated of being able to tell a story through the medium, and just kind of obsessed with making videos, and eventually somehow convinced my parents to let me go to a film school, which to this day I'm astonished I could do.
What film school?
I went to Full Sail University in Florida. Yeah.
I don't know much about that. I've seen the ads. Is it a good school? I mean, did you learn a lot?
Depends on who you ask. Yeah, it's a what I appreciate about it. It's a 4-year degree in 2 years, and how they do that is you go to school around the clock, which is a great prep for the industry. So that in and of itself was a good lesson. But what I found was they have a great PR department, and so they really got a lot of people in the door, and the people who ended up succeeding past the door were those who put in a lot of work outside of the class. So kind of depended. It worked out great for me, but yeah. So yeah, then I convinced 3 classmates to move out to Los Angeles with me after that, and so I can keep rent low, and got out to LA and started trying to make things happen.
So, did you get, when you got out to LA, did you know people, or how'd you get your foot in the door?
Yes and no. So I didn't know anyone that ended up being helpful. However, I thought I struck gold, Dave. I thought I was going to be hitting it hard quick, because my best friend's dad was the youth minister of Miss Bonnie Curtis, who was the assistant to Steven Spielberg.
Oh, well, that's right. I mean, that's just a
I
shoot.
was like,
You were
I'm in.
like,
I'm
yeah,
in.
you're there. You're there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't
So-
even have to apply, right?
That's right. That's right. So I got connected with her and got canceled on my first time, which was a classic, right? And then I did end up meeting with her, and I'll never forget it because I had never had like a cappuccino before, but I was going to order whatever she ordered. I was going to do whatever she did. I was just trying to fit in here. I'm from Texas. I had no idea what this world was. So she would, stir up her foam. I would do the same. Nothing came from it, but she was a very nice lady.
Well, you're lucky all she ordered was a cappuccino, I guess. Maybe like
point.
a flaming shot of something or other. Whatever.
That's a great point.
And
I would have known what to do.
Was she just basically like humoring you sort of and, hi, how you doing? Get out of here?
I mean, maybe to some extent, but she gives some good advice. I was so fresh. I don't even know if I could have absorbed any actual wisdom she had to offer at that point.
Coming out of school, did you, or going out to LA, like, did you have this is what I want to do, or were you one of all of us who was like, I want to direct? Or, I mean, or did you have a thought?
I did get the itch to direct while I was in school. I remember a directing class, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And then, like, a week later, we had a lighting class, and it blew my mind because it did not for 1 second occur to me that they lit these movies. And that's why they look so great. Like, I was so naive to the process of what this looked like. It just blew me away. And I was so fascinated with it. So the camera and just the look side of movies was very clear by the time I got to Los Angeles. So.
Oh, that's cool. So that was the goal. So she hooked you up with Spielberg, and that was that.
And then I just started operating. People say it's Mitch Dubin. It's actually me.
I hear you. Yeah.
So
Mitch isn't going to be happy that got out. So did she give you any practical advice? Like, can you share anything that she turned you on to?
You know what? She did actually. It was actually advice I was given that was actually reinforced later on with Miss Jamie Lee, who you and I both know. But I forget how she told the story, but essentially her point was, if you don't have any clue, like running for bagels or whatever it is you're about to go out there and do, if you don't know what people want, just get what you would want, and then you can at least have an opinion about it. Like, you can at least tell them why you did something, right? Which is great, because then later on, season 1 of Scream Queens, before you were able to join us, I'll never forget, we had some director was trying to give, I don't know if he was intimidated by Jamie or just didn't really know what he wanted. But it was just
actually, we said Jamie Lee Curtis, for anybody who doesn't realize who you're talking about. Yeah. But yeah.
Sorry. So I don't know what it was, but it was late on Friday. We were all ready to go home, and he wasn't getting what he was wanted, apparently. And so it just like take after take, but no much under direction. She just stopped, and I just happened to be where they were, and she was like, I forget the guy's name, but hey, man, have a dang opinion. Just have opinion. And then we can go from there,
I could totally see her saying that.
And I took that. Like, I actually needed that advice. That I was a young operator who was, I knew what I was doing, but I was also timid. And it's like, just have an opinion about something, and then you can move on. So I thought it was pretty great.
No, that is actually really good. Actually, that's one of those weird things about operating, because hopefully you have an opinion of what you like and what you don't like. But at the same time, part of our job is to go, but if that's not what you like, I've got to put that on the side and do what so there's that weird thing,
Correct.
Right? Like,
it's a balance, right? It's like, how do I convey to this person that I am capable of coming up with good creative ideas, and at the same time, I'm here to support you. Like, it's a balance for sure. And also, typically, if you're coming up the ranks of a camera department, if you're pulling focus, that is not one of those roles that you're necessarily like being asked your opinion about creative aspects. You know what I mean? So like, it kind of a change in gears in some sense. To do that transition well.
Yeah. But you started, did you work your way up in the camera crew then? How'd you get your first job?
I did. Yeah, I did. I was fortunate enough to preparation meeting opportunity at certain moments that we can talk about, that I was able to go through those pretty quickly. But I didn't know anything else to do other than, at the time, it was Craigslist, it was Mandy.com, it was LA 411. I was just $50 a day. My only rule was that I was only going to go out for a camera position. That could be a camera PA, that could be a random person who gets to like talk to the camera people, right? But it was like, I'm going to be camera focused so that people know me for the camera position. I don't know if that was actually help or not, but that was kind of my mindset. So. Yeah.
And so, I mean, is that kind of how you learned how to start pulling focus and loading and all that stuff? I mean, you just learn as you go, or did you?
Yeah. I mean, I did have some experience of that in school. Like we did get to touch some film. I did pull a lot of focus. A lot of people in school were wanting to direct all the movies. And by that point I'd kind of figured out that I wanted to touch the camera with all this stuff. So I was kind of the resident focus puller, which ended up being super helpful, obviously. But yeah.
How long did it take you to get, I mean, did you do the normal, like, were you always going in for something different, or did you do the normal, like, I'm a PA, I'm a loader, I'm a second, I'm a first, did you work up that way, or was it all over the place?
I guess it was probably a little more all over the place than just straight through. But there's also, like, before I joined anything union, like I was doing, a commercial one day as a second loader, and then maybe operating on a music video, and then going back to pulling focus on a short film, right? It was any opportunity that you're just grabbing for, right? To meet the right person at the right time. So it was a little bit of everything. And then once I was able to join the union, it was probably a little more of a normal progression through that.
Don't you think that non-union stuff though is valuable, because like getting thrown into this and thrown into that and just having to like sink or swim?
Absolutely. I do think there is a large portion of trial by fire that really, and maybe that's an individual like threshold for everyone else. I thrived on that, and there's to be fair, there is definitely, I think, something where if you're thrown into too much too early, you could definitely burn some bridges. I think there's some discernment for that, but I think that's in a world where everything is fast paced. Why would you learn it any other way? Is through being thrown into situations where you have to kind of adapt to a fast pace. So I found it to be crazy valuable. I found myself in really interesting situations, flying in a helicopter where the day before I didn't know I was going to be doing that. And, just like amazing things that you could only get to if you were willing to jump on any opportunity that came your way. So.
Absolutely. And some of which, like maybe that one, we probably shouldn't have been doing back then, but we all did it at some point.
Totally.
I'm sort of glad those days are behind us. But
Exactly.
We all made it. So were you in the union when you worked on Mega Piranha and Titanic 2?
No,
was that?
I was
Those
not.
were non-union shows. Okay. And,
that was not James Cameron. That was, yeah. Those were
just out of curiosity, was it that they raised the Titanic and did something else with it? I didn't look it up, but I'm sort of fascinated by this.
Well, honestly, I can't say that I've ever watched it, but I want to say I remember it was like the exact same story, and like, but we can do it this time. We can build a stronger, better ship, and the same thing happens. Like, there's no,
oh my god,
there's nothing that changes. It's the same movie, less money, and again that no one asked for.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to look this up. Now, back then, were you on the knob on the camera next to the camera operator?
Yeah. When I was pulling focus, and I don't remember like on those particular jobs that you name, if I was a second or first, but in those worlds, I was on a knob next to the camera. There might be a time where it got really exciting when they'd bring out a bar tech and you get to, pull wirelessly on a tool that may or may not work. That was always exciting. But yeah, on the knob there.
Because the reason I asked is because I think that's something that's been lost, because I think when you were pulling focus and you were connected to the camera, like there was just stuff that you learned by osmosis that doesn't happen anymore, right? Like when you're 20 feet away looking at a monitor playing a video game, and nothing against anybody who's doing that now, because it's a different world. But
I agree. I do think it's more of it, like I romanticize what that used to be like, and at the same time, if I were going back through that process, there's no way I would get on the knob. And
not now.
You can't keep up. Like of course you're going to do a monitor over the side. Absolutely. But I think you're right. I think there's, much like any generations that I missed out on before I came, I'm sure there's plenty of relative things that are missed out that you wouldn't do anyways, right? Yeah, but I do wonder what transferable skills were adopted, just being able to be close to a camera while someone else was operating it. Maybe that's a thing. Yeah.
Well, I think that also there was just that thing of you heard the conversations between the dolly grip and the operator, which they don't hear anymore. And there was that thing of, it's changed for a little bit, but I mean, I don't know about you, but when we made the jump to digital, I felt like for a long time they were always chasing focus, only because the dolly would start to move, but they're looking at a monitor and it's we're moving. Now they've gotten much better at it with the technology and whatever. Yeah. But for a while it was like that. And whereas when you were on the dolly, you're oh, we're moving. I better turn this while we're moving. There was a connection that's missing there.
And that's really interesting. I feel like when I was first operating on large enough things to where the focus puller cared enough about being sharp all the time, there was almost a timid sense of reacting to anything that may not have been rehearsed, because you didn't want to throw anyone else under the bus. That was kind of a weird dynamic.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And maybe that's just me being too empathetic to a friend of mine that's pulling. I just should have not done that, but I do remember that feeling, and nowadays I feel like that's probably changed a little bit, whether that be technology advancing or just focus pullers continuing to get better and better at the impossible job that they do.
It's a little bit of both, but yeah, it is I don't understand how they do it. It's beyond me.
I remember explaining that to my wife for the first time, 15 years ago, about what that job was. And she was like, that job's impossible. How? What?
Wait, do you mean just in general, or once you've gotten to digital?
It just in general. I was trying to explain to her how they're chasing a plane that they can't see. And she was like,
but
what?
The incredible thing to me is, it's weird, because on the one hand, I look at some great focus pullers. I used to work with Norman Parker. I don't know if you ever ran into him or not.
I don't know.
But he was just phenomenal. But the thing is, they would constantly be calculating depth of field in their head, right? So they wouldn't be going, I need to know exactly where we are so I can put the focus there. They're like, well, I got this to this, but now I got that. It's they were doing complex math in their head.
That's when you had your Kelly wheel next to you and you were,
And it's just I don't know how they did that. And yet those guys, the older guys, look at what the new guys do and go, I don't know how they do that. It's really weird. It's a totally different.
That's really interesting. I mean, I guess that's just more evidence of how the skills of that craft have changed so drastically, right? It's just almost a different craft.
Let's face it, any of the focus pullers that we know right now, they're not doing depth of field in their head, because there is no depth of field. Right. There's just focus and out of focus
all the time.
There's no depth of field anywhere. So that whole Kelly wheel thing is that's a whole industry that's dead. But
it's hanging on a wall somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do? So how long did it take you to make the jump up to camera operator?
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm trying to think how long it actually did take. I joined the union pretty close to a year after I got out to Los Angeles. So that was pretty quick. And then, yeah. And it was I joined, what was it? You could have 30 union days and 100 non-union days. So I went the non-union route because that's all I was working, and I was willing to do all the paperwork done. And then so I could just sit on those papers for, I think it was 100 days or something, a year. I don't remember what it was. So I just sat on them until an opportunity came around. And the first one did, I was like, let's do this. So I knew that's where I wanted to be.
Did you get in as an operator or as an assistant?
No, I was an assistant. Yeah, I assisted for still a good while there. So it had to have been, I don't know, 5 or 6 years until I started operating union stuff. I was always shooting or operating on the side, of course, but yeah, something like that.
And then so when I ran into you on Scream Queens, how long had you been operating for?
That was the second season of the show that I started. So season 1 of Scream Queens was my first season operating on a union show. And I don't want to say I was super busy between season 1 and season 2. I don't think there's a lot going on. Maybe a pilot, but so that was probably my second show.
I didn't realize that. I have to be honest. If I had known that, I would have looked much more down my nose at you than I did. But
you probably should have. In
retrospect, there were a lot of telltale signs. No, that didn't. I got to tell you, I walked in there and I was like, no, this guy absolutely knows what he's doing and is on top of it. And I mean, look, I mean, just numerically, you're younger than I am, so I knew you didn't have as many years in, but that doesn't mean anything. Sure. You ran the set, and of course, Joaquin Cedillo was there, and I know you guys are good friends, and that was a great relationship. And
yeah, and that would, that obviously gave me a lot of confidence is the man in charge who everyone knew was in charge. Joaquin knows how he works. And, he trusted me, and I think that helped with, and also I tell you what, if there's any advice to anyone young out there, just not being a jerk gets you a long way. So that's a huge advantage. So,
or the opposite that I'll say to that is, if you are a jerk, you're not going to get very well. Actually, that's not true. I don't want to say that because we do know people, unfortunately, who somehow seem to rise above.
You better be really good.
You better be really good. So if you're not really good, you definitely have to be a good person. But
that's why I was trying to be such a nice person.
There's no question about that. So back then you were conventional operating, and then at some point you decided to pick up a Steadicam, right?
Yeah. I saw a buddy's paycheck. I'm just kidding. Nah.
No, that's back in the day, not anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
what was the decision?
I do remember talking to a few Steadicam guys who were that excellent at it, like Andrew was. He was one of the first just really talented Steadicam guys that I saw, and I was like, this is amazing.
And Andrew's unbelievable. And I say whenever I can that I was the person who originally trained Andrew, and I take all credit for all of the work that he ever did. He was my assistant on a show in Texas, and I literally on that show got the Pro. So it was the first time I'd ever had a new Steadicam. I was all excited, and he was there when I pulled it out and built it for the first time. He helped me with it, and then on the weekend so cool. He was like, "Hey, can I run around with it and you show me how to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So, and he's the nicest guy in the world. We were doing B camera, so we had a blast, and yeah, so he's one of the best Steadicam operators I know, and also now a great DP in his own right, and just a good person.
So it was those kind of conversations, and again, I should have maybe mentioned them specifically towards this, but some Steadicam guys who have been doing it for so long, who were so good at it, felt like they were getting trapped into that position. And at the time, ultimately, I wanted to shoot. I wanted to be a cinematographer. So I was
trapped into what position?
Into being a Steadicam guy of kind of golden handcuffs into, you're so good at this thing, there's no way we can let you not do it anymore.
In other words, if you want to go into DP or director or something else, you're kind of stuck there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my framework of kind of hesitating on that. As much as I found interest in it, there's a lot of athleticism in it that I thought I would be good at it. And it's at some point is where I started to have kind of the crisis of, oh wow, this is taking over my life. Do I really want to also become a DP to where more of my life is taken over? Because as an operator,
you mean the film industry in general? The film industry in general is taking over your life.
Yeah. And I felt like as an operator, that it's such a good spot in that world where it's like on most shows you have, it ranges, but you have some creative input and at least the ability to have some creative input, and yet. In my experience, you can turn your phone off when you leave set, and
you get to have lunch, and you get to have lunch. Yeah, and you don't have to have meetings with everybody. Yeah,
exactly. So when I had that revelation,
and as I remember, Scream Queens, did your wife have your first child on
season 2? Yeah, we had our first kiddo.
I did. Right. I mean, I knew you had a child. I just didn't know if it was your first.
Yeah.
I do. I remember that very well because I remember you being on set, and I think you got the call on set, or you had to leave. Or,
Yeah.
Because I remember they were like Spencer's got to leave, you got to come in on A camera, and I'm like, what? And they're like, his wife's having the baby, and I'm like, well, this is an inconvenience for me,
No one thought to tell me
no
this
one
could be a
talked to
possibility?
me about this. Do they have any idea who I am? So basically you're starting a family and you're beginning to think like I'm away. Is that when it starts to hit like how I'm not home that much and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. And I mean, and people, they could point and laugh because obviously if you in this industry long enough, you see the hours, you could look ahead, but I'm a positive guy. I'm an optimistic guy. I could have figured this out, how it all work out. But yeah. I'll never, that show in general is really special to me, but that particular time, when I came back, James Brownlee, the key grip, he would go up to the perms. This was, I think we were stage 14 and 15 at Paramount. And he would make me a hammock up there before lunch would break. And so when they said let's go to lunch, he was like, "Hey, your hammock's up there." He did that for me for months.
I had no idea because you weren't getting any sleep at home, so you could sleep.
I was getting zero sleep. I was getting zero sleep on set. So he was so thoughtful and so intentional. He was like, "Hey, your hammock's over there. Go sleep." Like it was like the coolest memory. I'll never forget it. It was such a
James Brownlee's a great guy. Now I got to call him because I was sleeping on the truck and I could have, I mean, what am I? I know I'm only the B camera guy. I don't get a hammock, but maybe
I was a little shorter, so I fit into a sound blanket a little easier.
But I have to tell you, you went up to the perms because the burn. I would have freaked me out.
It was very hot. It was very, very hot. However, it was very quiet.
Super quiet. Yeah.
And no one knew I was up there, really. I don't think so.
Oh, that's really that warms my heart.
Cool.
And James is such a lovely guy. I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. That's fantastic. So that was where you sort of started to go like, oh wait, there's like a life and a family and a maybe these two things are hard to do together.
Years to realize this was really hard to do together. Yeah.
I think it was while we were on Scream Queens that you won the Emerging Cinematographers Award from 600, right? Or
I think
that's
so.
when they announced
I think
it or
was
something.
Around then. Yeah.
Which still congratulations. I remember seeing
Thank
that
you.
and thinking this is amazing. Like this guy's incredible. And
Thank you.
but again, Steadicam sort of seems like a detour. Like you got the family thing, you got the Steadicam thing, you got the DP thing. Like how do you make that choice?
Yeah. I mean, it was much later on where I had decided, because it was soon after we had Finley, my oldest. I say soon, like a year later, where we wanted to make the move out of California, and so that's when we headed to Atlanta. And so I still had a few years there of working, and it was after season 1 of Black Mafia Family for Stars that I think it just kind of hit me again of the interest of it. That particular show, we were doing some really fun things. It was still pretty low budget, but a lot of I enjoyed the family there. They weren't afraid to take some chances. And most of it was handheld, so I could still do a camera and not have to surrender a lot of Steadicam stuff. But then I was like, man, if I don't want to shoot as much anymore, and I'm on this show where we're doing some really fun stuff, maybe now's the time. And honestly, I kind of pulled the trigger really quick, and then was doing the Steadicam on the next season. So it was a really quick turnover, and I think a lot of you probably couldn't do that because I just start off with a wave. So there's I think probably, I guess that's a good conversation to have. Maybe you've had that, is like it did allow me, like the barrier of entry was quicker. However,
and for anybody who doesn't know, wave is a thing that goes on top that maintains the horizon. So all you got to do is worry about like, okay, now I'm back to just framing. You don't have to think about that. Look, it's weird because like there are purists who are like, that's terrible, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, but you're also going, hang on, there's technology here that allows me to put this thing on, use it, do a good job. Why wouldn't I do it? I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I like and obviously like the con is, if it goes down, obviously there's, I think, you and I talked about that when I was doing it. But I want to say Neil Bryant said it best. He was like, when I get on a dolly, I don't have to worry about horizon. Why is that a requirement for Steadicam?
No, it's look. Here's the God honest truth about it is the only people who are upset about it are all the people who had to deal with it forever and didn't have didn't have all these technology. Like we're like, I spent 30 years keeping that.
Yeah,
thing. You young kids,
and I get it. I totally sympathize with someone who spent that time and looks at me and be like, I'm better than him, and I agree. You are more skilled. However, there's more to the job. And but anyways, that being said, I was able to hop onto that show and still had plenty to learn, but I had a lot of people who believed me and trusted me, and I was able to
but by the way, and that we were talking about Joaquin. It's like there's so much to be said for that. Wherever you are in your career, just having people behind you who have your back, who expect a lot out of you, but also are there to go, we're going to make sure this works. And I mean, it's an incredible to have that safety net. So basically, did you go out and buy a rig and then spend all the downtime in between the show just practicing every day? Or did you take lessons or
100%? No, I did not take a lesson. Not funny enough. At that time, we had also had a house fire. And so we were out of our house in rental homes with my growing family. I think we had 2 at that time. And I was just like, I got to figure out the Steadicam thing. So it was just like pure chaos. And I didn't get I don't even know if I didn't want to or couldn't afford it. I don't know what it was. But no, there's so many good resources online too. And I was lucky. I had a lot of advantage getting into Steadicam not later on in my career, but like I had been operating at a high level for a very long time, relatively. And like I knew guys like you, Andrew Mitchell, all these guys I could come to, but like I do think there was a huge advantage of the ability to move the camera wherever I wanted was accompanied by the years of experience I had of knowing when to move a camera versus starting off with all the moves you want and not knowing how to be intentional about it. So I do think that was an advantage.
Well, I think, but the point where you were at, you already knew how to be a storyteller. And so you were just like, now there's just this new tool that I just have to figure out the nuances of to use to tell stories in a different way. Whereas we were like, I don't know how to be a storyteller, and I don't know how this equipment works, and I don't know how to walk, and I don't know how to hold a horizon. So yeah, no, but it's a perfect. So then it's just like putting the time in, right? And going, I got to figure out how this sits on my body and how to keep it still when I want, and how to.
Yeah, and I would love to tell people that was all my plan. I thought through all this. I was like, I'm super patient, but it wasn't. That is kind of how it shook out,
Is that right? No, that's good. Look, when you tell me that you've got 2 kids, a house fire, and you're deciding to go into Steadicam, already I'm thinking he's not very bright, but maybe it's worked out for you.
No,
and then
you nailed it.
So how long into the season, I'm assuming it was within the season, did you sort of feel like, oh, I can go out and sort of do whatever they want me to do, like with confidence?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. Honestly, the wave probably gave me more confidence than I deserved to have. But I feel like this is what aided me in the beginning of my career of just like not considering I could actually fail. Like I was so like, I just didn't think I was going to fail. I don't know what I don't know what to chalk that up to. Like it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but like when I went to Los Angeles, it did not occur to me that this was not going to work out for me. And I think I had the same confidence going to Steadicam. And I don't know where that comes from. Again, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but that's what I felt. Like I knew I would do this. It was only a matter of time. So I want to say I've like pretty quickly felt comfortable, but I doubt I actually could have executed everything they wanted to at that time. It takes years to really actually be competent with the thing.
And that's actually why I asked it that way. Is did you feel like you could do everything? I mean, I'm still not at a point where I could do everything they want, but
exactly.
I stupidly think that. But so do you think that's just a part of your personality across the board, or is it just? I mean, what do you attribute that to?
I do. don't know how to speak to people I don't know about who I am and not sound like a complete jerk.
You can sound like a complete jerk. I'll edit it so you don't.
In my experience, I've been fortunate enough to be able to learn things quickly particularly when it comes to like physical activity, whether it be a sport or whatever. So for whatever reason, I have learned to adopt things quickly, I guess. So I guess that's maybe a personal trait. But yeah, I don't really know, actually.
Well, so segueing here a little bit, and I hope you're okay with me bringing this up. You're a religious man, and you've lived a religious lifestyle. Have you been religious since you were a kid, or is it more as an adult? Or
I've always grew up in the church. I would say that I probably adopted early on a lot of my parents' beliefs, which I probably couldn't in the past at a young age really tell you what I believed, right? Which is not uncommon for anyone, but all my adult life, I've been a Christian. That's been a big part of who I am, how I operate out in the world. Yeah.
But that's why I bring it up, because I'm wondering, do you think that has something to do with your attitude of like, I mean, because as in essence, you're sort of talking about having faith in yourself and faith in your abilities to do whatever it is before you. And I mean, it's all faith, right? Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think you're right. I do think there's confidence when, and to be clear, I don't think that's confidence that I'm going to be good at everything I try, of course, but it is a confidence of like knowing ultimately things will end as they're supposed to. So I think you're right. I think a lot of that too, and I think later in our conversation this might come up again, but like your identity and like where you place a lot of it, I think has huge consequences on how you see the world and how you interact with it, how it interacts with you and how it affects you and your heart posture. So I think in that sense, my faith has been a huge aspect to kind of my outlook on life and how it float throughout it. So
that makes perfect sense. I mean, but you said something, I don't know the exact words you said, but you said something about that made me think about the fact that, look, I think that most people, when they're thinking about doing something that's hard or that has obstacles or whatever, you know, they're worried about failure, right? I mean, that's when it comes down to is most people, that's what stops most people from doing something that's hard, right? Sure. They're worried about failing. Nobody likes to fail, whatever. Yeah. But I think that if and you sort of alluded to this when you said it, I wish I'd written it down, but is sort of if you realize that what you're attempting to do, you may not succeed at it, but it's going to lead you to something else that's just as important and whatever, then there's no failure involved. It's just like, oh, well, that didn't, you know, that's not what process. I thought it was going to be. You know what? Does that make sense?
That's great. No, 100%. And no, I think you're exactly right. And because like I could point, you know, I just will because you brought up faith, but like James, the book of James, that's exactly what he brought. This is the brother of Jesus. He says, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know the testing your faith produces perseverance. So let perseverance finish its work in you so you become mature and complete, not lacking anything. Like it's this idea of how like trial and trouble in the world, although not good, does build you, right? It's like it has to happen. Like you don't know what to change until you know what to change, and usually that's through trial, and that's through growing and learning. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also like it's one of those, you know, it's to me it's that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And and I look back on my career, and there are many times that I've failed outright. There's no question about it. But I say that knowing that it's just the only way that you fail, I think, actually. And you know, if you're trying to build a house of cards and the house of cards falls down, yes, you've failed at building the house of cards, right? That's very. Yeah. But the question is, if you can find something that you've learned, if you can find something that you've moved forward somehow, or if you can take something out of that, then it isn't failure. And you know, it's I don't remember who it was. There was that whole thing. It's not about the falling down; it's about the getting back up.
It's not about how hard you get hit, but how off.
Yeah, I mean, there's 900 ways to say that.
Yeah, let me tell you all 9 ways real quick.
Rattle them off right now. No, but I think it is that thing of like and the reason I guess I'm talking around it, but I think it's really important, especially for like people who are younger in this business, to recognize is like, I fail all the time and you fail all the time. And like, Andrew Mitchell fails. Like we all fail all the time. It's just those failures get hopefully farther and farther apart, hopefully. And also we know how to deal with them, and we know, and you also know how to go, all right, I'm going to put that in the box and I'm going to deal with that at the red light on the way home. And it's going to be ugly, but right now I got to get back to fixing this. And
I think that's probably the best advice you can give to anyone young. This is this thing I preach to my girls growing up. It's like you aren't learning what you're supposed to be learning because you're not failing often enough. Like you have to mess up. Like you have to mess up to get better at it. And you're right. Like with younger filmmakers now who are not only in a social world, but know nothing but one. Like that is the only thing you're seeing in a feed, and whatever is perfection. We're all aware of it. Like that's not new information. Yeah. You only see what people feel like they want people to see. And so all the stuff that lies underneath, it goes hidden, and you can, even though it exists, you can forget about it, and you kind of feel like you have to already have arrived on your first job. Right. And it's a great way to like not take yourself as seriously. Like if you're listening to the podcast now and you came here because Dave Comides and all the people he talks to, you're probably going to appreciate their advice, and what they're telling you is they mess up all the time. So if they're talking like that, you probably should too, No,
it's absolutely well. And I mean, I do also recognize that I've been doing this for 36 years or whatever. My new thing is I say I've been doing this since the late 1900s. That's how I introduce myself now. I like that.
Dang it. But I can't do that.
Sorry. I was going to say something. Oh yeah. I also realize that there's a luxury in having done this for a while and having sort of a name and whatever. Not that I'm the biggest name out there, but whatever. I've got a body of work behind me that if I fail, but I've been doing this for long enough. It's not my second shot, so I get that. But it happens. Yeah, it happens to everybody, and it's about dusting yourself off. I mean, I've said it before on the podcast, but the first big union job I got was as B camera operator. I originally thought it was A camera operator. It was pointed out as B camera operator on Space Above and Beyond, which was the next TV show from the guys who made the X-Files. So everybody was like, "This is going to be huge," and it wasn't.
Okay.
And I did 4 days, and on Friday I got fired. And it was devastating. It was just completely devastating, and it was a pretty ugly weekend. I will tell you that. And Monday morning I was like, get up or get out. And I just decided I was going to bug every camera operator I was on set with and watch and figure out and whatever. And the next big job, it's basically I was day playing and short terms and whatever. Mm-hmm. The next big thing I got called for was ER. And I would not have succeeded on ER had I'm convinced, had I not had that failure on Space Above and Beyond.
What a great story. Cause I mean, that is how it works, right? Like that's how it works.
Well, the thing that is fair is that's how it worked with me, and that's how you hope it works. It isn't always how it works because there's so much I couldn't control in there, right? I mean, and I may have never gotten the call and been like, "Well, I did this for nothing," But anyway, so this has gone like way off the rails.
No, but I do think you're right. To reiterate your great point is like there is an advantage to having enough experience that people kind of know that you'll do a good take two, even though you screwed up take one, for sure. So I hear you.
Well, and I also think, how many years have you been operating?
Probably, I don't know. People are going to fact check me out. 10, 11 years, 12 years.
But again, you're in the same boat that I am, and you've been doing it enough that I just didn't land that frame, and I got that light. But I'm going to survive that, and I'm going to get it on the next one. and that people screw up, and you know, and there's that thing where, you know, DP will come over and be like, "Did you ever work with Bill Pope?"
No, but I'm familiar with Bill.
I love Bill Pope. But he is a tough individual to win over and to work with. And we were doing this, I don't know, we were doing pickups on Thor 9 or something like that or whatever. And I forget who the actor, big name actor. I can't think of his name. And he's in a pool, and he's clawing forward, and he's dropping to the ground, and I'm on a 135 on a remote head on a techno crane, and Bill comes over and he's eating peanuts, and he looks at me like during the shot, and he goes, you got to keep his head in at some point. I was like, I'm working on it. And you know, he knew what it was, but so you know, but you know, it could take you down if you don't know. This is tough. And
I remember a story. It actually might have been on my podcast, but I think it was Mitch Duman, and he was. I mean, I think Spielberg was probably similar. You know, very talented person trying to get something done. So the pressure of those moments, and he kind of explained how he would have to take in all the notes, hear everyone out, and then before the take, just let it all loose, like just kind of forget it all. Like, I hear you, I'll make this adjustment. And at some point, you really have to rely on the confidence that you've done this before. When you get to the point where you can say that you've done this before, and just, I am here for a reason. No one else here can do the job I'm doing, so I'm going to do it well. And just really remind yourself that I can do this. You know, it's simply put.
There's no question about it. When I teach people Steadicam, I tell them this. Michael Stipe, who's the lead singer for REM, was on this program, and he was talking about how the career of an artist is like a clock. And he said, so you know, for me as a guitar player, he said, from 12 until 3, I just wanted to figure out every single note and how to read music perfectly, and just technical. I can look at anything and play it. I could just hit everything and every nuance and whatever. And then from 3 until 6, I'm still perfecting that, but every once in a while I throw in a little of my own, like, you know, zhuzh, and I hold that string for a little longer or whatever. And then from 6 until 12, I forget everything that happened from 12 until 6, and I just live in the music. And it's exactly what Mitch was saying. It's like, I got to figure out this, and I got to figure out that, and I got to figure out that, and then I got to take a big exhale, and now I just got to be, I got to be in the moment and do the shot, and know that it'll be okay, you know? So you're doing Steadicam, and basically you're doing like TV shows, like it seemed like you're regularly doing TV shows, and you're a name around Atlanta. I mean, I just came to Atlanta a little while ago, but I knew you already, but everybody seems to know you and like you. I think, what did we bring you out on? We brought you out on P Valley. You and I were doing that handheld stuff in the jail. That was fun. And we were sort of like zooming around on butt dollies together. That was actually a lot of fun. We were having a great time because I think I was standing up, and you were like butt dollying underneath me, and like we were just all over the place. It was a lot of fun. But that's one of those things where you get to work with good people. So but basically, you've gotten to the point where you're like one of the go-to guys. I mean, people know you and know you're a good camera Steadicam operator. And then just recently, I found out that you had made a change in your life. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I guess the short version is, you know, we decided to step away from the whole business, right? That's what you do. You make a name for yourself, and you just kind of walk away one day, you know?
Well, what is it? Walk away while they want more, and not afterwards, or something like that?
That's right. Yeah.
How did that come about, and what's the thinking? And I mean, I got to assume it's family oriented.
Yeah, and it is. And that's the primary. I mean, look, if you go on a set, I think you can probably find 50% of the people say that they want to get out of it, if we're honest, or at least a high number, right?
More than there used to be, that's for sure. Yeah, just because it's a tougher industry than it used to be. Yeah,
it's a tougher industry, and particularly in Atlanta, I feel like, I guess I can't really say, but it does seem reasonable to believe that a lot of people got into a booming industry in a particular town, right? And maybe didn't move up the way they wanted to, or as quickly, or thought it would be easier, whatever it was. But yeah, so I mean, that concern is, is certainly not new. A lot of people get that. They want to spend more time with family, and that was, our case. But it's hard to walk away from something that pays well, something that you enjoy, and something you're good at, and something you spend a lot of time building. So it was one of those moments where we were looking at our life, my wife and I, and our growing family, and God's honest truth. There's no work-life balance to this world. It's either like each does, it's in conflict with the other. That's just the reality. It's like no one's arguing that. Family is very tough. It requires a lot of time, and so does working in this business and doing it well. So we got to the point where, we spent years imagining what it would be like to do something else, had no idea what that would look like. It's hard to look at something that doesn't seem like there's many transferable skills. And if there are, how do you pitch that to someone who doesn't know anything about movies? So we got to that point in how we operate our life. We spent a lot of time in prayer, looking for guidance of like what that might look like and wisdom and how to proceed. And we just got to a point where we knew we had to make a change. I wanted to be part of my family's life more often. I'd been given these girls. I wanted to cultivate, who they became and who I believe they are. And getting really sappy now, but that's what fueled the whole thing.
I totally get it. Yeah. And so how long ago did you actually pull the plug or
sure.
whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Well, so again, we had prayed about it a while, and then we got to a point where my wife was just tell her story. She asked God just for some kind of provision. We don't know what this looks like. Help us out. Like, can you show us any means that would provide for us, even if it's not what we think is a dream right now? And 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from a random buddy from church who is hiring. He needs a supervisor in construction.
Get out of here.
I don't even know if you know about this. Yeah. And at that point, one, it helped that work was slow, and we kind of recognized that. So we're like, hey, let's make this happen before the things gets busy.
What's the downside, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, yes, like we felt like this was the direction. So I went to go work in construction, and I knew nothing about helping.
I was just going to say, did you mention to them
yeah.
that you didn't know anything about?
Oh yeah. They, in fact, this was great. And maybe one day he'll appreciate that he was on a film podcast, but the guy who eventually hired me, and I was like, I got to tell you, man, it's like,
just to be clear,
I make movies. I don't know anything about this. And he was like,
I'm really good in chaos. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I can work really well in chaos, but
yeah. His name was Jeffrey. He was like, do you know what a door is? I was like, yeah. He's like, how sometimes they swing open and sometimes they close? I was like, yeah. He's like, you're going to be fine. So I had a lot of confidence.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. That's fantastic.
But long story short, that's kind of where we were. Obviously very tough. Went what we believe was a wilderness of just trying to be faithful to what we thought was being led by God in a direction, even though it didn't all make sense to us. And I definitely wasn't. There were aspects of that I actually did enjoy, but I could not see myself doing that for a long time. And one thing led to another. I'm actually now working for I'm the assistant director of marketing at a private Christian school up here in Kennesaw. So
amazing. And so how long has it been since you sort of, left or said I'm not working anymore?
That was your question. That's right.
It doesn't sound like it's a specific. I'm just wondering, like, how long have you been not working on
about
set?
About a year and a half. And during the time that I was in that construction world, like, I made it clear to him as well. It's like, if I can day play, just because it wasn't enough money. Like we weren't going to make enough money to figure it out quickly. So I was like, if I can day play, like I'm gonna take a day off. And they understood. They wanted me there, and so I was still kind of dabbling. I was renting out some equipment here and there, but about 16, 18 months it's been probably.
And what's the mental game of, like, because look, this, clearly this is something that you got into because you love, and no one does this if they don't love it. It's too hard not to. So
it's not worthy,
is it hard to let that go? Has it been? I guess I'm asking the question, but I also understand that like you're weighing it against no, but I'm with my kids and all that. So
Totally. But it's still a really fair question because, like, it's not like it wasn't lost on my wife, even though we were making what we believe was the right decision. It wasn't lost on her that I was stepping away from something that I like. How rare is it that you get to make good money in a career that you actually really enjoy doing? So it wasn't lost on her in that sense, but obviously we were convicted that was the right decision. In my head, it was always, if there's a creative muscle that I'm no longer flexing like during my job, like I got to find somewhere to do that. So for me personally, it was just being aware that that was going to be a need and trying to find an avenue in which to put them into place. And for me, it was doing stuff at our church. We ended up, I have another buddy who goes to my church who's an artist. And so it was making a podcast for the church. It was just like all these endeavors, just like trying to stay into something. But that was like a big thing. I would say a larger battle. I don't know what the word is. Something I had to work through more intentionally was all of this identity that I had placed into my job, which, okay, yeah, like that was a bigger thing because of my faith. My identity is in Christ, and yet at the same time, like I still had this, like I'm a camera operator. Right? Like it was so confusing to me because I was like, well, hold on. Everyone knows me as one of those two things. And yet they seem, so it was really challenging if I'm, being vulnerable about that. Like that took a lot of work of kind of realignment of who I believe I am and what that means and what that should look like in my life and how it should reflect. And again, none of this is to say that this job is evil. Like I'm not
I
saying
get
that
it
either. Yeah. But like for me, it was like, that was two things that conflict with each other. So
no, I totally get it. And I mean, like you said it earlier, this job takes a lot of time and raising kids takes a lot of time. And there's no question that you can achieve both and do them well, but it's not a guarantee either. and I think there are enough people out there who can attest to that. So I totally get it. And so do you feel like at this point, have you been successful in sort of like redefining yourself as that you're okay? I mean, like, are you okay with this, or is this still sort of like you wish you were getting the call? And I mean, do you mind me asking that? I mean, there's a selfish reason for this because the thing is I'm nearing the end of my career and I'm out mowing the lawn and I'm thinking like, well, I'm still a camera operator, but when I'm not, am I going to be like completely like who? Like, yeah. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I think those are great questions for anyone out there doing anything. It's like, am I placing too much of who I am into this thing that I shouldn't? Yeah. So for me, I want to, I have, so I was hired for this job. I get to do a lot of video. Like this is going to be a really interesting, potentially, I never called the film job a dream job because to me, a dream job was going home for dinner every night. You know what I mean? I mean, for real though, that was my position. And this is actually, we're potentially at a point where this is going to be a dream job, but I got to hire some people to be part of my team and a young videographer who's early 20s, who's just learning all this about me because he's, asking all these questions, which is great. And I get to now teach him a lot of stuff, but he's like, would you ever go back? And I realized it was literally today that happened. And I realized that there was no way I would. Like I've come to a point, praise God, that like I feel great on like where I'm at. And it feels weird to say, and obviously I'm not saying that to, like, there's no malice or gloat to any of this. It's just like, from my perspective, someone who did look at this as an impossible task at one point in my career, it was like, I'm sitting on the other side now, and it's like, this is possible. It's a lot of hard work, and it's not going to work. For me, it didn't work out the way I thought it would, and it took a lot of time. and it will be different for everyone. But like, there's this other side.
No, that was the reason that I wanted to talk to you. I mean, I had originally wanted to talk to you anyway, but I heard you were selling your rig, which, by the way, as this comes out, if anybody's looking for a Steadicam, selling a Steadicam. Yeah. No, but that's what I wanted to ask you, because I knew how much you love the film industry. And I also know, like I said, I know you're a man of faith, and family is very important. So, and I think we even talked about that years ago, probably at lunch or whatever, when you weren't in your hammock up top. James Brownlee didn't give me a hammock, but that's all right. I'm not angry. But James is off the podcast. No, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I think there's so much stuff that you've brought up that's important. I mean, look, number one, we're in a tough time in the industry where not everybody is making it and people are having to make choices. But I think the bigger thing that you mentioned, which is so important, whether you're making it in this industry or not, is you can't let your job define you. You've got to figure something out. You're not your job, and your job is not you, even though, we love this job, and I can't think of anything else to do, which I keep trying to, because if I do, I'll do it. But I'm like, hey, can I mow the lawn for a little? No, I can't mow the lawn. But only because I think in a nutshell is, if you let this industry define you, and your job is being determined by what's available, which is less and less, and who's calling you, which is harder and harder, and this and that and the other, then your very definition is being created by something out of your control, and that's not healthy,
That's exactly right.
I think whatever it is, whether it's faith, whether it's family, whether it's, your photography on the side, whatever it is, like, you've got to find something else in order to be healthy, to where, I didn't get that job doesn't send you spiraling out of control. And that's the end of it.
That's exactly right. I think that's well said, because your job, if given the opportunity, it will take advantage of it, and it will define you. It would gladly take the opportunity you gave it, and it will define you. Absolutely.
There's no question. And I mean, I've always said it's like, this industry is very much a drug, and you get that call on a Tuesday morning when you've got nothing going on, and someone says, I need you on a plane to the Dominican Republic. And it's a high, because like, someone wants me and I have value and I'm going somewhere cool, and, and they're going to pay me a lot of money and whatever. It's a high. And then suddenly, they call an hour later and they go, we got someone else, you're off. And you're like, oh, I'm nobody. And,
exactly.
So is there part of you that does miss or will miss the fact that the phone could ring and you could be off somewhere, or
no, I think so. I think in fact, when you wouldn't imagine how often my phone rang once I made the decision, once I was clear on what I thought the goal was, and I felt like I was being given the answers I was asking, and then committing to it. I think it was 5 months in Hawaii. I got a big movie coming into town that would have been the next big step for me. I mainly did some movies here and there, but nothing crazy. This was like the next thing, like just tons and tons of calls. So like, to me, I thankfully had done enough work on myself to where I could recognize what that was, and deter from it, and not get back into the thing that I didn't want to go back into. But yeah, I'll absolutely miss that. That's what a fun thing to be valued on in an artistic thing. And you're, like, absolutely. I don't know if that'll go away. Yeah.
I hear you. Well, it's amazing to hear all of this, because I think there are a lot of people who are going through all this. And I mean, look, the fact that, you've sort of successfully transitioned doesn't mean that somebody else is going to, because everything is a factor, right? But it just means that
totally.
it is doable. And I think there's a tremendous amount of value in that. And I commend you for making what I'm sure was probably a really hard decision, although maybe it wasn't, because your priorities are such that you were skewing towards your priorities. So maybe that makes it easier, I guess.
I'll say this: my wife knew the right answer before I knew the right answer.
That's generally the case. At least that's what they want us to think.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, I think if you asked my wife, she would say the exact same thing. But yeah. So sort of in talking all of this, there's one specific thing that I think I have to ask you, and hopefully it's okay, and you let me know. But at any point when either you were getting to the point where you were like, I'm going to get out of the film industry, or you made the decision to get out of the film industry, or now that you have made the decision and followed through on getting out of the film industry, is there any part of you that sort of feels like you failed?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, okay. The feeling of what you're describing, yeah, of course. So let's see, the temptation to look on my experience and my career in that light is within grasp all the time, for sure. I've we've talked about this part a lot, of like my identity and kind of the working through that, and having a firm foundation for that to land. That's never where I end the conversation with myself of that, because it's not a failure. It's not a was there room to evolve the craft that I learned? Certainly. Was there bigger, more creative productions I could have been a part of had I stuck in it longer? Absolutely. But never would I end up actually thinking that I failed to some degree. I don't think that's at all a label I could put on the hard work and the success that I've been able to find, through a lot of opportunities that came from a lot of people. But yeah, that's definitely something that could sneak in if you're not guarding the doors and the windows, for sure.
That's a good way to put it. Well, the reason that I ask it, and just to be clear, I don't think that at all, because I was thinking about it, and it's like, first of all, I mean, you've had compared to a lot of people an incredible career. You've done great work. You've got an award for some of your work. Your peers think highly of you. So there's no question there that you've succeeded. And on a very different level, like, at least speaking for myself personally, you've found a different path that is more important to you and decided to take that. So that in and of itself is actually not only not a failure, but a success, to be, and impressive. But the reason I ask it is because there is this thing in this film industry that it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this, but why didn't I do that? Or why did that person get that job and I didn't? And so it sort of occurred to me, like, yeah, there must be that doubt of like, did I fail? So is there a way that you push it out, or do you just focus on those things that I just brought up basically, or like what? Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sports guy. I'm a big NBA guy. Like, I think of like all those, like, so many times you'll have this great successful team that made it much further than they should have, and then those are always the questions they get asked by media of like, is this year a failure? And they're like, a failure? What
are you
We're not even supposed
about?
to be here. Like I'm not even supposed to, like, are you kidding me? Like, that's kind of how I see it. Yeah, I mean,
That's great.
It's, that's not that I was close to winning an NBA championship by any means.
Wait, but you know what I'll tell you, this reminds me of is years ago, I flew to France and Germany for a BMW commercial or something or other. I don't remember what it was. And I'm flying, and I was flying out of LA, and it was right after the Winter Olympics in Utah. And I look around and I see all these people in these matching outfits, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the French team, right? And I'm like, this is a French Olympic team, right? So I sit down, in my seat, and this guy in a jumpsuit sits down next to me, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, great. And I'm like, are you guys part of the French team? And he goes, yeah. And I said, what was your sport? And I think it was like luge or toboggan or something like that. And I said, how'd you do it? And he goes, I medaled. And I'm like, you're kidding me. That's so cool. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting next to a medal. And he goes, you want to see the medal? And I go, yeah. Like, you have it with you? And he goes, yeah, I'm not going to pack it. So he opens it up. And I remember my first instinct was like, it's a silver. This is only the second best loser or whatever. And it was a half a second because, of course, I want to see a gold medal. And then I caught myself and I'm like, what are you talking about? But it just made me think of what you were saying. Yeah, it's just like it's never good enough, right?
That's so funny. Yeah. And that's the again, I think of right now the number one golfer in the world, his name is Scotty Scheffler, and he happens to be a old Texas boy who's also a Christian, and I think that's not maybe not the Texas part, but where his faith is, he's such a cool guy to listen to interviews because everyone's asking him all the questions, like he has a tournament coming up, it's it's a major, and if he wins it, it's Grand Slam or whatever it is, and he's just like, I just can't think about this stuff because if I win that, y'all gonna ask me about the next thing, and it's like I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in this cycle for the rest of my career. I'm gonna play the best golf I can, and I think that's great. Again, I can't compare myself to any of these people by any stretch of the imagination. However, that mentality, I think, is the only way for anyone to get through this identity crisis or this idea that you are only as good as your last job. I think that's such a silly way. People might like to look at that and kind of tout that in the moments that they're getting successful jobs, but realistically, that's a silly way to look at life. From a longevity perspective, you are so much more than that. So I think for me, just again, that's an easy thing that can creep into your mind if you're not careful. But it's never a useful thing. That's never going to serve you well because it's not true. So it's funny you bring this up, Dave, because tonight we were introducing our girls to Freaky Friday. It was one of those movies oh man, this is time. They're gonna love it, and we're watching it, and they're aware of. We talked about Jamie Lee Curtis earlier, and technically my oldest did get to meet her physically, but she was an infant, so they don't know this. Okay, but we do. They're aware of who she is because of the proximity of how we work together, and so it's halfway through the movie, and my middle child, I'm like, you know what that is? And she's like, I have no idea. And her reminder was I worked with her. That's Jamie Lee. And she was like, oh, what? And then Chad Michael Murray comes in. We're like, yeah, we know him too. And they're like, what? And then there's another actress whose husband I worked with later. So we were just kind of joking with them, having a good time about it. And the look of my middle child was like, who are you? And in my head, I wanted to say, yeah, I used to be cool at one point. And then I kind of stopped and I was like, well, hold on. That's going against this whole belief that you have of yourself of granted, it's a little silly, but in my head it did flash through and I was like, no, that's not the point by any means, but that is the trap. That's the trap is that no, you used to know these people, you used to work with people, you used to be in this club, and now you're not. And that should hurt you.
And also, knowing you and knowing her, I know the reason why you like the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is just because she's a really wonderful person, not because she's some big superstar. Exactly. Right? I mean, that's fun, like you said, but who cares? Because you and I also know superstars that we wouldn't want to tell our kids that we know.
100%.
So that's great. When I was doing Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and Chandler from Friends. Yes, I can't think of his name. Matthew Perry.
Yes, well done. That's right.
He was on it. A wonderful guy. And at one point he came back it was actually an episode that I was directing. And he goes, I think that your wife and two very small people who are related to you may have come in. And I'm like, oh, yeah, what? Huh? They're here? And he goes, yeah, I was standing outside smoking, and this very small person came up in front of another small person, and a woman who said that eventually it was your wife, and looked up at me and said, where's craft service? And he went, I can show you. And she's like, please do. She's like, 5 years old or whatever. And he's like, so I walked her in and whatever. And I said, oh, thanks. I said, oh, and there they are. And my wife's coming over with the kids. And I looked at him and I said, so no autographs? And he's like, they were not interested. But he got a big kick out of it. And it is the kind of thing, they could care less because they want to know where the table with the candy is.
Yeah, well, and they have it figured out. Right, they understand, totally. They know where the value is on when you're 100%. On the set.
So anyway, good stuff. That's great. Did they like Freaky Friday?
Dude, they loved it so much.
That's great.
I think when I watch those movies, and I actually got to film one of those movies, but you have to, in your head, you're constantly reminding yourself of who is who and who's acting what, because they were right? blown away. It was like Inception for them in some sense.
That's great.
So
that's great.
But they loved it. Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. So do you foresee a future where like you're sort of going to get back into video production with the church or with the school?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's essentially what this job actually ends up being. So what I'm doing is basically running all internal, external photography and video for a really large private Christian school out here. So it's like I got a team. We're a team of 9 and all, but my specific team is of 4 of us, and we're doing stuff for a jumbotron, from like monitors in the school. Like, it's a lot of really fun stuff, and they brought in someone who's specifically knows storytelling to try to make some changes. So it's exciting. It's like I've actually feel excited about the opportunity. So it's kind of a strange thing.
Do they need it? Do they need a camera operator?
Yeah, they don't know the amount of people I'm about to hire to come into the school. Yeah.
All right, put me in the top of that list, man. And if I heard you correctly, because I can't quite get my head around this, so you have a job now where you go at the same relative time in the morning, and then you come home and have dinner with your family in the evening. Is that how that works?
It's a really strange thing. Yeah. So I actually get to see my family and eat with them. Yes. Yeah.
Do you sit down? Do you sit down while you eat? Like, I mean, you actually sit at a chair and a table and.
That is, I have been trained to do that, but it's still I want to stand often. It bugs my wife.
Yeah, you're still. I somewhere I have it. During COVID, I sent my buddy a picture of me in the living room. I dragged the garbage can up, and I was eating pizza over the garbage can. I was like, I'm just trying to flex the muscles. Do you know what I mean? No, that's fantastic, and how great to hear it, and that you've successfully transitioned, and I appreciate you being honest about it, because I figured there have to be aspects that you're going to miss. I mean, it's too great of a job not to. I mean,
I'm such a romantic to telling stories the way we do, right? Because I mean, partly like the amount of time I'm looking back at the Steadicam operators that were looking at me when I was talking about the wave. Like, I look back at all the time I spent for my craft, and I look at that in a very romantic way of like, man, like those, like it is such a beautiful craft, and it's, I'll miss plenty of aspects. Tons of the people that you get to hang out with for 90 hours a week.
There's that too. Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, then you're hanging out more with your family. So as long as you like your family, that's a good thing. If you don't like your family, you got another issue coming. But that's a different podcast sometime. Well, listen, I really appreciate you sharing this and being as open as you are, and congratulate you on following the path that you feel is right for you and your family, because that's not an easy thing to do, and I think there are a lot of people out there who struggle with that, probably more than we recognize. So it's really fantastic, and I will say it's a loss for all of us, because you were a great camera operator and a real pleasure to work with, and your work is fantastic. So I suspect that it will just transition to a new plane with what you're doing there, and
that's the hope.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. Well, listen, I will leave you with the question that I leave everybody with, which is a little odd considering that you're now out of the business, but I'm going to ask you anyway, and you can take us out with it. Advice for someone getting into the business today on how to succeed, and or something that you learned along the way that helped you, that you wish you knew when you were younger.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, clearly we talked a lot about probably more often than you normally do, of cons in of what this life or this industry brings to people's lives. And I would only say to that, just think of it, put some thought into it, of what the future might look for you, the future that you're trying to build, and how it all fits together. It doesn't have to be the path I took, which is saying, hey, don't go in the film industry. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. Just speaking to my experiences. But in terms of getting in the business, we said it earlier, I think you can jump miles ahead of other people when you treat people well. I think that's a absolute truth to life, that when you treat people well, it usually comes back to you. So I would start there, and any responsibilities that you can take away from people that have hired you, the better you look. That's another way to kind of learn quickly and also show people that you're ready to move up. And anything beyond that kind of escapes me at the moment, but I think those are good places to start. So good luck out there.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.